So this is an oval easel card. Show you here. Made completely and cut completely with the die set. And this is Amy Designs. Bear with me a moment. I've lost my colour. There it is. Amy Designs Christmas Landscape. This is it. Okay, so you get this outer oval die. You get this inner die. And then you also get these little snowflakes and stars. And the little snowflakes and stars I've used as the little stopper for our Christmas tree. Okay, but as you can probably see, if I just tilt it up to the overhead camera, that I have used, of course, I've used Pixie Sparkles on this. So we're going to have to get a little bit messy before we start doing anything. Now, this time, rather than doing a big sheet, I actually did the die cutting first. So I'll show you what I mean. So let's move these Pixie Sparkles out the way because I need to get some other ones out. We're going to use, for the main background, I have used this gorgeous teal marine. This is for the background and also for the sort of frame. Okay. I have also used a bit of frozen pearl, which is the Pixie Sparkle highlights. This is the one, the highlights do not have any pigment in. They just have the sparkle. And in this case, it's more of a silvery sparkle. And I've also used the green bay, and I'll explain why later. And to colour in the image, I've got out my Distress Oxides. Now, it doesn't have to be these colours. They just happen to be what I chose. A nice green for the trees. I got the so I've got pine needles, black soot that I used for the lamp post, ground espresso for the little tree stumps, and tiny little light in the lamp there. I used the squeezed lemonade. So we're going to use those as well. Okay, so we'll put those to one side for a moment, because what we'll do is we'll do the cutting first. So this is 9 inches. Just measure, I can't remember what I did it by, 9 inches by 4.5. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to score this in half at 4.5 inches. So I'm going to score at 4.5 inches, and this is going to make our base for our easel card. And we are going to use the outer die, fold this, burnish this, and we're going to use this die to create our base. Okay, now this is quite a thin die, so make sure you've got your cutting edge face down. So I'm going to get my cutting plate, and I'm going to put this on, and I'm going to put that to the edge. Now, it's not always easy with shapes like ovals to get them completely sort of centre, so you kind of just have to do the best you can. Oh, there it is. My tape seems to just keep hiding from me today. Okay, so I'm going to tape. I don't really want to go too far over the edge of the die, but I also want to make sure that the card isn't going to move, so I'm kind of doing a bit of both. Okay, so plastic shim, magnetic shim, top plate through the Gemini, and off it goes. And fingers crossed that it has cut right the way through. Good at home, so I have every faith that it will have cut all the way through this time. Yeah, there we go. So remove the tape. So here we have, with plenty of glitter, because I obviously Pixie Sparkled the plate from the last demo. We have our base card. Okay. Now this is the bottom bit. This needs scoring in half, and again, it's one of those roughly in half. So I tend to try place it on looking as level as I can and use this as kind of a vertical guide. So where am I at here? Roughly what, 4 3/8, so let's say 4 1/4. Half of that, 2 1/8. I might actually come looking at it, eyeballing it. I might actually come back to 2 1/4. So I'm going to score down there, and that then folds over to form the base of our easel card. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we now need to cut. Oh, anything else? We now need to cut a couple of ovals. One which will form this part here, and one that we can use on the base. Okay, so I have here piece of card again. Just checking. When I was doing my prep, there were a couple of times with these very thin edged dies where I wasn't concentrating and put them up the wrong way. And if you're a person that puts their magnetic sheets on top rather than the plastic shim, that could cause some lovely fridge magnet shapes to be cut. So just be a little bit careful with that one. Okay, so we're going to cut that through, and then I am going to show you how I made the background. Just thought it looked beautifully sort of snowy and sparkly, snowy theme. So there's our oval, and we will just pop that to one side. We'll need that in a moment. I'm also then going to cut out the part with the detailing. So I'm going to need this again, and I am going to need the other part of the die here, and we'll paste that down. Now, again, with these, it's just a case of eyeballing it really to see that you've got a reasonably even amount of space around. Do you know, this tape, I think it's going to a little black hole every now and again, so I can't see it. Okay, so we're going to take that down and cut this one. Now, for the way that I have put this card together, you actually need to cut that this particular part 3 times. Double check myself. Yeah, 3 times. I'll explain why in a sec. So we need this one because we're going to decorate. We're going to paint this one. That's the bit just lovely, falls away, no problem with the cutting there. Take the tape off here and there, put that to one side, and then we're just going to ease this out. Go very careful because of the both in sun, but yeah, it comes out straight away. So we need one of these that we're going to actually paint in a moment. But we also, because I created a raised border, you also need to cut 2 more because you are actually going to snip into them to create those raised borders. If you prefer not to, if you don't want the raised border, then you don't need to. So what I've done is I've literally, on this part it's not too tricky because you can kind of follow the line of those bits, die cut bits, but here you kind of just got to freehand it around. So I realised my head was very on its side there. Sorry about that. Don't know where I was going. Just following my scissors around, I think. Okay, so you will need 2 of those. Now I have already got some prepped. I'm not going to do everything, but I am going to show you how to prep the base set ovals, how to prep the border, and how to actually paint this. So I think what we'll do is we'll do this bit first. Okay. So I am going to use Distress Oxides. Now I have a white tile because when I'm using Distress Oxides to paint, I like to just put a little bit on a white tile and I can see it. Ooh, they've got a life of their own today, bouncing around and disappearing. So I'm going to put a bit of pine needles down. Now these are oxides, so they are more opaque than the inks. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit yellow because I don't really need much of that. A bit of ground espresso again, not really needing too much of that, and a bit of black soot. Okay, so grab my water and paintbrush. Now, what you don't want to do is get this too wet, otherwise the colours will bleed. And I'm just going to grab a piece of paper towel so that I can block things if they start to bleed. So I want a bigger brush than that to do the trick. That's what I'll do. So you get your brush wet, but then just take some of that off just so that it's damp. And then I'm going to go into the green and get some on. And the reason I've got a big brush is because I need a little bit more water there. And then I'm just literally going to paint over. Now, and I've gone over the trunk already. I did consider just painting it with the Green Bay Hixxy Sparkles, which I'm going to use in a moment. But I'll show you why. The Hixxy Sparkles, although it's called Green Bay, it has a much bluer tone when you mix it completely. Because when you make it into a paint, you omit all the different colour pigments that are in that powder, all get mixed in together. When you put it onto a piece of card, they're all separate and they all can stay separate. But when you try mixing them together, unfortunately, the dominant colour is the one that comes through. And in this case, I'm going to need some more green. What should I do with it? In this case, there's a very blue, a very beautiful blue, but very dominant dark blue pigment in there that kind of takes over. I'm not doing this very well today. Everything's so dry. Okay. I'm not too... I'm going to go with a big brush. I'm just going to go for it. The reason I want to just be a little careful, because obviously we've got that black, and this brush is a little bit... You see the bristles are starting to come apart. I need some new ones. So, it doesn't matter if you go over onto the this frame, because we are going to put another frame on the top. So I'm just turning it around just so that I can come in that side with a bit of the tree. Okay. So we are going to I'm just going to dump sort of sponge that off there, because what I don't want is that now running when I try and put the ground espresso on for the trunk. So trunk. The Gemini. Everything today on this table has got a life of its own. It all wants to be doing its own thing today. Okay, so you only need a tiny little bit of the ground espresso for the trunks, and then we're going to use the. In fact, I'm going to do the yellow first before I put the black soot on my brush, because the black soot will be more difficult to get off. So just going to paint the little light in there, and then we're going to do the lamp post. I have to say, I do like watercolouring. I can quite easily just sit and do this kind of stuff for a very long time. Unfortunately, it doesn't make for great viewing, so I promise I won't. Okay. Okay. Now you can see I've got a little bit of green that's gone over into the snowy area, but I'm not too worried about that. I did on the last one as well, and I managed to kind of just blend it in. It gave a nice little sort of hint of tinge, whatever you like, to the snow. Try not to put too much water because I don't want to water it down too much, but my brushes are just like, no, I'm not playing today. saying time to retire me. Get some new ones. There we go. That's a bit better. Okay. Now, I hope you didn't hear that. My stomach's just gone. I need a snack, I think. Lunchtime. Hope you're all enjoying your lunch. Okay. A little bit more green. I missed a bit of green there. There we go. Right. Okay. So I'm going to put that to one side to dry for the moment. We will come back to that. Move that out of the way. And we're going to look at how to do the oval and how to do the frame. So this is where I use the Teal Marine Pixie Sparkles. Okay. Now for the oval, it's quite straightforward. It's the normal. It's normal. Empty the entire contents onto the piece of paper. And then spray a spray bottle. Now this is a very, very pretty colour. Now last week I was using the Green Bay and I really loved the yellows that came out there, but I do love this one. Not quite as many different pigments in this one, but it's still very, very pretty. So that needs to go aside to dry. Down. And where's my paper? Sweep that up. Now I'm going to use the same Pixie Sparkle for the frame, but this time I'm going to make it into a paint. Okay, so I'm just literally going to pop a little bit in, and I'm going to get my water and a brush. I'm going to use a flat brush here because it will be quicker. Okay, and literally we are putting some water in with it and we're making it. Can you see how that pigment just literally activates as soon as you put the water in? We are literally going to paint. So whereas on the oval we got sort of real scattered muted kind of colours, here you can see the vibrancy, but you don't get the difference in the different pigments. You just get one sort of amalgamation. It's like mixing paints together. You just end up with one colour. So that's what I did for the frames. Okay, so I'm just going to rinse my brush off, dry that off, one side, and then put that to dry as well. Okie dokie. Right, okay, so we're going to go back over here now, and we are going to use the Green Bay and the Frozen Pearl. Now, I'm just going to see if I can find a scrap piece of card. Bear with me a moment. Let's use this. No. This is good. Just for demonstration purposes, so I can explain what I mean about what happens with the pigment. This is Green Bay, and if I was to just sprinkle it on here and spray it, you will see green, you'll see some blue, you'll see some yellow, and you'll see some purple. Yeah. So in this powder, there are pigment particles of all of those colours. Now, what happens when I then put some in here and mix it with water is that all those pigment particles mix together. So I don't get a green because these dark purpley ones are much more prevalent. So I get more of a blue than a green. Although that one's fairly green today. When I was testing it yesterday, it was blue. So I decided I'd rather put the base of pine needles down and then put this over the top so that the green really came through. So we've now got this nice and pixie sparkled with the paint. Oh, you see a bit of blue particles still in there. And then we'll paint this tree too, make that sparkly. And then, oh, dirty fingers. I'm going to take Frozen Pearl. I remember this is just, Frozen Pearl is just a highlight. There's no pigment in this. So I'm literally just making like a glitter paint, if you like. So I put a little bit in there. I'm going to water him. Ooh. That one went everywhere. And get a brush, hopefully. Oh no, that one had black soot on it. That's not going to work. Okay. And I am just going to use this to put a shimmer over where the snow is. Okay. Now I could go in and highlight a little light as well. It's up to you. But that can be used as like just as a paint to go over the top to make things a bit sparkly. Okay, so again, I'm going to put that aside to dry, and I'm going to take that one. Okie dokie. Right, so let's have a look at assembling. I'll get rid of this pixie sparkle before it gets wet and makes other things inky. Right, okay, so we now have our base card, and I have already got 2 ovals done and dried, and I have 2 frames done and dried. And I've also made using these little dies, I've made the stopper. So I layered the biggest snowflake, the biggest star, and then the next snowflake, just to make a little stopper. So it's all made from the same die. So okay, this is still a bit wet, but we're gonna go with it anyway. In fact, I am gonna get out the heat gun, and we're just gonna blast this a little bit just to dry it off, just so that we can actually assemble this. It's not totally sodden because I've only been painting over the top of it, so hopefully we shouldn't be too bad. Okay, right, so I need to glue this onto the top of one of these. So I'm just going to have a fiddle around and see which way around I like. What do I like? Let's go with that one actually. Right, so glue. Oh, I did put the lid back on it. Ooh. Okay, so we're going to glue around the edge here. And then in those main bits need contact, so on the back of the trees, snowing up into each of those little snow branches. Just making sure there'll be enough for contact. And then we're going to line that up over more background. That one. Just let the glue dry a minute on that one. While that's happening, I'm going to glue the one of the frames onto this one for the bottom. Okay. I think actually these ones show up the different pigments in this teal one better than the one I did before. You can see there's the green and there's the blue, so there's definitely some different pigments in that one. So that one's going to be for here. So we do need to trim off a little bit. Now, you can either decide to go right up to the edge, and in fact I think I will today, or on the original one I offset it a bit. I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to line that up. In fact, I'm going to do it that way. I'm going to go that way, and I'm going to bend that back, and then I can see which bit I need to cut off. There. And going to do that with a pair of scissors. There we go. Now this, hopefully, should now sit on our base there. So we'll get that stuck on. Like that. There we go. Our base. That would be our base. So, but we just fold that back over so it's not an issue. That way. There we go. Now, I'm going to stick this on before I put this on. Now, one thing after I put the sample together and I looked, I thought, oh, messy background. And what you can do is cut yourself another nice plain white oval to stick this onto, so that when your easel is stood up, nobody's going to see your mucky inky background. So yeah, so if you want to do that, then by all means do. So I'm going to stick this now. This bit will now stick onto this bottom half here. Okay, like so. Line that up a bit better. I won't line that up very well. There we go. Okay. Now, you can just glue this straight down if you prefer. I am going to give it a little bit of dimension with some 3D glue gel. So I'm just going to put a few, not that one over there maybe. There we go. I'm just going to do a line with the glue gel all the way around. There we go. I'm working on one side of today. There we go. This is where it starts to get messy because there's nowhere left off. Oh, there we go. I squeezed it over the side, which I didn't really want to do. But we can deal with that. I'm just going to take that little bit off there. Okay. And then I am going to... Oh, I might put it in. It would help if I put it actually over the right bit. I put it the wrong part. There we go. Now, because I fiddled with it there, I've got this ridge of glue, which I am going to just try and take out with my fingernail. There we go. That's my fault for not placing it properly in the first place. There we go. So all that remains now is for me to place my little stopper on. You could add a greeting if you wanted, a little greeting up the top, a little bow. I think it looks okay like that. So again, 3D glue gel, because you obviously want the stopper lifted up a little bit to stop the easel card from falling forward. Okay, and so there we have our oval easel card made using the Amy Designs. Oh, I keep forgetting what it's called. This one, landscape, forest landscape. No, I'm sorry, it's gone, and I can't find my piece of paper either. Christmas landscape. That would be quite obvious, really, wouldn't it? Christmas landscape.